This video answers why gender pronouns matter, which is the title of a video published by the YouTube channel named 17, which asked 4 people why gender pronouns matter. I feel like there is a lack of diversity among the 4 people in that video, so I will offer a 5th perspective. I'll reply to a few claims and quotations made in that video under the following headings. 1. The dinner table disclosure. 2. Cultural norms are offensive. 3. Validation without verification. 4. Whatever offends is violence. And 5. I'll offer a few points to reconcile the desire for more pronouns and the requirement of order and expectations within a country. The video begins with an individual identifying as non-binary at their family dinner table. It seemed awkward and silent as they were picking at their food, and they spoke up. Quote, "Hey guys, I'm non-binary. I don't have a gender." They said, quote, "My pronouns are they, them, theirs, and that's non-negotiable," end quote. They expressed this was also awkward or shocking for their family, but if we're honest, if the situation was already awkward, it could not get less awkward with that point-blank declaration. Maybe their family could have said, "Okay, would you like your father to drive you to the DMV to get your sex designation changed on your driver's license too?" Anyway, as another quote goes, quote, "When I get misgendered by my family, it's like a knife in my heart because they're the people whose opinions matter most to me," end quote. On the contrary, it seems what matters more to this person is that their family acknowledge them and affirm and appease and enable them no matter what reality means. They don't want their family's opinion. They don't want to hear their family's beliefs or convictions. They want their family to submit to their demands, not to love them as their family might define love, but to obey them and conform their opinions to theirs because that's love to them. Another non-binary claims, quote, "I was always uncomfortable being called dude. I was so bad at dapping people up," which is a way that some generally younger males seem to greet one another. And quote, "I felt alienated when someone would do that to me," end quote. They are claiming not to fit in. They are claiming to be some sort of victim of society, an alien, as they say. Fact is, various cultures and communities greet one another in various ways. The world will not conform to your preferred greeting. I can relate, as there are times when friends and acquaintances come to me without any physical greeting, whereas others approach with a strange handshake or a hug or a half hug. And I accept each greeting as a unique cultural expression of friendship or friendliness. It is counterintuitive and societally destructive for every individual to present every other individual with instructions on how to approach them in a perfectly comfortable way. There are programs in which one can participate or groups of which one can be a part for those who are sensitive about these things, and that is totally okay. By using their pronouns, we are validating, yes, you are right in your identity and you are important and we are respecting you. For this point, I'll reference an article a United Methodist Church pastor provided me when I asked about furries. I'm not sure whether he read the article before sending it, but nonetheless, it is titled 9 Questions About Furries You Are Too Embarrassed to Ask, by somebody from Vox. The 9th question in that article is, do furries think they're animals? The response is, quote, "It's complicated. About 1 in 3 furries report feeling not 100% human. A small fraction, 8 to 14%, report meaning this in a physical sense, with many more stating they feel not fully human mentally or spiritually. About 38 to 53% report a desire to be 0% human if they could be. Furries and other who identify as non-human in some substantial degree are known as otherkin. Therians are otherkin who identify with, in whole or part, an actually existing species that live or have lived on the earth. Wolves are the most common. Some reserve the term otherkin for those identifying as fictional or fantastical creatures like dragons, vampires, etc., while others use it as a catch-all term. Some researchers have suggested that the existence of otherkin and therians suggests these people could have a species identity disorder, modeled after gender identity disorder, which is used by psychiatrists to classify trans people." End quote. And so, if someone is truly a boy but feels like a girl, then it is known in the psychiatric community as gender identity disorder. It is a disorder. It is disorder. And if it is a disorder, we should not validate them into that disorder or tell them that they're right and rightly ordered, but we should love them, of course, and help them understand that they have something to be worked through, and that we are there to help them through it, and there are professionals too if it is serious. Years ago, the slippery slope argument of people identifying as animals or having sex with animals was shrugged off as ludicrous. But it has existed and now exists more than ever before and will continue until we acknowledge there's a problem. There is disorder, and we must again seek order and truth, because a third of the furries feels less than 100% human, and potentially half of them don't want to be human at all. When has this level of depravity ever existed except today, with our children being indoctrinated and forced to feel like oppressors, therefore causing them all to want to change their identity so that they can become a protected group, almost as if reverting back to an infanthood where they only need to feed off the breasts of the bureaucrats who bully them into submission, without allowance for personal responsibility or autonomy of thought. And so, we validate only that which is valid. Misgendering a person is an act of violence, a denial of one's personhood, a complete refusal to acknowledge their identity, whether intentional or not. Then, isn't violence to violate... Then, isn't it violence to violate the dictionary and alter definitions of words and to silence certain words and sentences and teach divisive doctrines to our children and soldiers and students who are supposed to be learning about unity in their universities? Keeping in mind, this person claims even an accidental misgendering of a person is violence. Let's look at how 3 dictionaries predominantly define violence. Behavior or treatment in which physical force is exerted for the purpose of causing damage or injury. A use of physical force so as to injure, abuse, damage, or destroy. Extremely forceful actions that are intended to hurt or are likely to cause damage. Importantly, especially for the sake of authorities administering justice, intentionality does matter, as well as physical force. Obviously, there are laws of phrases one cannot say in certain circumstances, but those are few. And sure, if people are saying F Joe Biden or F the Supreme Court, they are exhibiting horribly inappropriate and borderline criminal behavior based on the context. But if you call someone a dog or a cow, that is an insult. It is neither the violence itself nor the inciting of violence. Even less so if someone intentionally, or especially unintentionally, misgenders an individual. There should certainly never be any imprisonment, except for perhaps the person who wastes the time of lawmakers and law enforcement with their violent expression of emotions. So the solution for intersex individuals, or people who actually have a 90% male brain and a 90% female brain, is to allow them to have a pronoun, I suppose, like they, if that's what they prefer, want, or need. That's it. 3 is all we'll ever need. As one non-binary says of their pronoun, quote, "It's literally an extension of my arm or leg," end quote. And we should honor the value they attribute to their pronoun by having them put in the effort that should accompany such value, and have them go to the government to officially adjust their documents of identification so that patrol officers can prevent accidentally committing violence against these individuals, having first looked at their license and registration. There is no need for the melting pot of America and its multitudes of minorities and cultures to cave to words coughed up by their noxious neighbors. As Americans, we should share certain values, and those certainly unite us. So, let's just get to know our neighbors and care for one another, learn one another's cultural preferences without putting a burden of obedience on anyone, but rather granting freedom in truth and love. We all need help sometimes, and if this is a time in which you need some help, please reach out. Please do not rely on anyone who will merely appease you or affirm you. It's only a temporary comfort. Seek a person who cares about truth and wants to see your whole life flourish in accordance with absolute truth. And above all, seek Jesus, the only ultimate freedom for all who are oppressed.